The Boston Marathon, presented by Bank of America, has thousands of runners running for thousands of reasons.
I'm running to raise money for Achilles International, so amputee athletes can keep running too.
For every mother counts, because all women deserve access to quality maternity care.
For St. Jude Children's Research Hospital, and every kid with cancer who just wants to be a kid again.
Join Bank of America in supporting this year's runners. Give if you can at BofA.com/help-a-cause. References to charitable organizations is not endorsement by Bank of America Corporation. Copyright 2024.
Spring is here, and you can now get almost anything you need for your sunny days delivered with Uber Eats. What do we mean by almost? Well, you can't get a well-groomed lawn delivered, but you can get a chicken parmesan delivered. A cabana? That's a no. But a banana? That's a yes. A nice tan? Sorry, nope. But a box fan? Happily, yes. A day of sunshine? No. A box of fine wines? Yes. Uber Eats can definitely get you that. Get almost anything delivered with Uber Eats. Order now. Alcohol in select markets. Product availability may vary by region. See app for details.
Today's episode is a short one that I pulled out of our archives, but I think it's something to think about here as you put together your next off-season plan. And there's so many things we can do to train our players in short periods. And one of those things that's very efficient is training the brain, training the mental processes, training vision, and that can be done with a free program called GoArmy Edge. If you haven't heard of this one, go to GoArmyEdge.com. You can sign your team up for free. It's something that I used as an offensive line coach. I used as a quarterbacks coach. I think you can use it for every position as I outlined today. And the idea is that throughout the season, you're really ingraining in your players the mental processes, the decision-making drills, etc. that you can do without contact through GoArmy Edge. You can use the Oculus headset for this, which is very effective. And the other great tool that you can use to integrate into this is Pro Quick Draw, which takes your drawings from Visio, PowerPoint, etc., and will convert them into the GoArmy Edge library, which will render and create those animations and those drills then that your players can get into in virtual reality. I think this is a tremendous tool. As I said, it's free. Take advantage of it this offseason. Put it into your training. Think about how you might use it now. Now's the time to start getting it organized. And so here's some ideas, as I said, from the archives, an episode I did a few years back. We finish up this week and give you some things to think about here this weekend. It is the end of week one for most schools. Some of you heading into your week one, or it's in the near future, and it's all about getting the players ready. If you already started playing, it's about that improvement, and there's going to be several things as you go through your film tomorrow, or if you're listening to this Saturday morning, as you're going through your film today, there's going to be those opportunities that your players missed. They missed on the recognition. They missed and made the wrong decision, and the only way you can solve those things is through repetition. Now, that's the challenge. Practice is very finite. It really numbers the amount of reps we can get. You're going to get your individual periods, your group periods, team periods, but ultimately, your player working in all the different scenarios that he has, there's going to be a limited amount of times that he actually gets to make those decisions in real time out on the football field. So we have to be creative with how we can get more. So we think about film study. Film study is a great way to understand the big picture of things, but it really doesn't help that player practice what he needs to in terms of that recognition. End zone film helps a lot for a lot of things. Press box film shows a lot of things as well, but neither of those actually put the player inside his own helmet to see what those things look like out on the field. So the solution is absolutely free. It's an incredible app. It's called GoArmy Edge. If you've listened to this podcast, you've heard about me talk about it often. We talked about it this week on the Edge series with Rob Everett, who now is doing some work with GoArmy Edge. And the whole idea is that you can create very easily some simulations, either for a big screen to do some walkthroughs or for your players to specifically get into the VR portion of this, enable their smartphones to work as virtual reality headsets. The cost of this, again, is free. It takes no special hardware to run this. You're going to run it right off of the web. It really takes no special skill to run this. You draw this up like you would with any kind of playmaking software. You are literally diagramming plays, and it renders it into the simulations, which look like a video game. Now, the benefit is your players actually get to see and practice things again and again and again. If you were to do this out on the field, you would get a fraction of the number of reps because you have to set up a scout team. They have to get reset. They need to take a breather every now and then. We are 100% working on mental processes when we do these types of things. So I'm going to give you a lot of examples today, some for every single position to get you started on this, to get you thinking about this. How can you use this to make your players better? And then I'm going to echo some recommendations made by Rob Everett earlier this week. So let's start with the offensive line. I've talked about it on this podcast before, but great opportunity to install your game plan, especially if you throw the ball a lot, but also if you're a team that IDs the mic or needs to understand fronts and has a lot of communication going on up front, install that game plan with the GoArmy Edge app. I would take our guys, when I coach the offensive line, we take them into an old racquetball court. The surface there, the wall there worked as a great screen for us. And we would project the defense out against us, and we would first walk through and then run through all of our plays. And over the course of really a 15 to 20 minute session, we could get in 65 reps of blitz pickup. And I would put both of my teams in there, one behind the other, first team, second team. We'd bring the running back in there, and those guys would go through and really understand exactly what's going to happen, practice against those things. And even over the course of the week, it was the opportunity for maybe those things you saw one or two times on film, or maybe you didn't even see some, but you're worried about being attacked a certain way. Work those reps at no cost to your practice reps. The other, mic identification. I think a lot of teams ID the mic now, and it's important how their blocking scheme works. So just being able to get in there and do that, putting your center in VR and having him understand and look at the formation really quick from his headset, not from film, because it's much different on film, but actually what it looks like from his eyes out on the field. Again, you're resetting the defense or moving to the next defense with the press of a button. It is so incredibly simple. The whole communication process for the offensive line can be worked here. Now, the beauty of this, as I'm talking about the VR portion, you can put these together, have your players go and work them, but you can also, if you have an Apple TV and they have an iPhone, put them in the same room with you, and what they're looking at through their virtual reality headset is also on the screen. So now you're actually seeing and helping them train their eyes. You could catch them looking in the wrong spot, which is very hard to do on the practice field, especially if you're standing behind them or on the side of them. It's hard to see exactly what did they look at. Did they see their key like they were supposed to? Well, when you put them in the Apple TV with their headset on, you'll actually see exactly what they see. You'll see where their eyes are going, and you can help correct and give them some eye discipline. Quarterbacks have been obvious. People have been using this for the quarterbacks for a long time. You can go into GoArmy Edge app and tweak what's already there. They have some sample playbooks. They actually have a sample RPO playbook that has RPO drills for the quarterback, and the way the camera's set, that quarterback's eyes are right on his read defender, and he's simply making a give or pull decision, and the quarterback will go through in the simulation and throw the football. But it's not really important that all those exchanges are made. It's important that your quarterbacks are seeing the different things that happen. Coverage recognition, another thing you can do there. A lot of teams give away their coverage either by alignment or in those first steps. And if it matters to you where your quarterback's eyes are going and helping him decipher exactly what the coverage is going to be as he's taking his very first steps away from the line of scrimmage, well, then this is an opportunity to train that. I work with a quarterback here locally. We actually go on Zoom, do a Zoom session with video, and within there, what I did at the end of it was tested him on all the things we talked about. So I went through and I showed a team's coverage indicators where that safety was in relation to the hash, in relation to the line of scrimmage. Again, it's easy to see when it's in that press box film view, but now what about when you put the player in the helmet? Where do his eyes go? Does he have that eye discipline and really being able to look in the right spot, being able to see where that safety is in relation to where he actually is on the field? So we went through a simulation with that. I didn't have him in VR, but he was able to do that then later through the app on his own. But he then could see from his perspective exactly where that safety was aligned, and that was our quiz at the end of the session. We went through, and he was able to ID things through there, and what he's told me this week is it has really helped him prepare. The receiver side of things, thinking about receivers. For them, coverage recognition could be important as well. So when you think about an ex-receiver as an example, if he's going to get pressed right away, he knows that he may get the ball. If he sees a safety coming over the top of it, he knows where the hole is going to be in the coverage. And again, it's a way to work the mental processes that might go along with it. Maybe they have to adjust their routes. Maybe you have a team that breaks off things in certain coverages. Again, how do they get those repetitions over and over? Not necessarily physically, but the mental processes that go along with it. This would be an opportunity to do that. Running back, I already mentioned him in blitz pickup, understanding where he needs to fit. Probably doesn't get enough work of that in practice all the time. This would be an opportunity to enhance that. I'm working things like if he has a choice route out of the backfield, or even putting him in run plays, again, first person, and allowing him to see where the hole's going to open up. Young running backs, if you get into the zone, always don't make those right decisions as it happens in real time. So you actually could put him in those situations. It feels like he is running towards the line of scrimmage. The brain is going to operate that way, where it is taking in this information exactly like you would on the play. He's certainly not doing the physical part, but mentally, he's starting to develop that vision of where he's going to have to cut, or he sees as he's looking, for example, at a combination block, that linebacker going over the top, or that linebacker fitting underneath to help him make his decision. Again, really, it's up to you to figure out how you would use this and design it, but I'm telling you, with every single position, there's opportunities to enhance what your guys are doing. Literally, in minutes a day, you can get a quarter of reps, full game of reps in 15 minutes. And I think that power is incredible when you think about how that works out over the course of a season. If you are getting a full mental game of reps every single day during the week, you've already played the game 3 to 4 times, let's say, by the time we hit Friday night. Let's flip over to the defensive side of the ball. As a unit, I know Rob Everett, we talked to him. Teams that he's working with are installing what they call walk-through walls. They are these huge 50-foot screens, and I'm talking about some NFL teams, some Power 5 teams that he's working with. They understand the power of this thing. I think it's really going to catch on. But any kind of big wall where you could project and have the entire defense, or at least the back end of the defense, who's responsible for making adjustments against different formations, can work a form recognition period where the offense is going to break the huddle, come out you in a formation. You have to look at it, make all your checks very quickly, move to the next rep, right? It's not taking the time to set that scout team up. You're literally hitting a button to go to the next rep and do that again. Defensive backs, route recognition, route combinations, right? How you want them to play. I think, especially back end type of things, if you're a quarters team that has some read in there, a 2-read team, something like that, I think a huge opportunity to get your guys more of those reps, especially early in season when you do have more of those mental errors. Linebackers, years ago, this was somewhere around 2005, 2006, I had the realization that every single one of our linebackers was going to graduate after this year, that we had no junior linebackers, that everybody was a sophomore, and that they didn't have a ton of reps on the varsity level and working against the different things. So we actually filmed from behind all season long and put together a set of clips that we could use with our big screen, and they were essentially going through and seeing the different things that could happen. Well, you can create those for every single team that you play against, creating the run fits and making sure your linebackers are able to diagnose those plays and be exactly where they're supposed to be, that you leave no gaps uncovered. Certainly works with the safeties as well. The scheme recognition. I'll show you in our blog or in our show notes an example of what this looks like for a linebacker as he's fitting the power or seeing the power scheme unfold in front of him. A defensive line, I'd say it's available for those guys to use too. There's going to be, especially as you work against, more and more teams are going back to 11 and you think your defensive end, instead of just always playing in a 5 on the tackle, now has somebody outside of him who could block him. And now it really expands what he needs to recognize and react to. So he may have a blocker coming down from the tight end position on him. Let's say he's in a 7. He may be tried to get reached by the tackle, let's say on a reach or a stretch play. Maybe they block down on him if it's a pin and a pull, arc on him and leave him for the fullback if it's power. And again, he has to recognize all those things happening in front of him. So I did film up what one of those might look like, and I put it in our show notes as well. Special teams. One of the best things I saw this summer was from Coach Chris Wolf, who is the head football coach at Mayo High School in Louisville. They were the 2018 state champs, and they put their punt return in here. So you think about those reps that you get on the field. Punt return is one that requires a lot of setup. It requires a lot of space. You don't get as many reps in as you would like because of all the moving parts in it. And this is the opportunity to get your punt returner some reps. So you think about that guy actually looking up, right? He's got a headset on. He's looking up. He's in first person. He sees the ball coming to him. He catches the ball. Eyes are down. And now he has to see where the blocking lane is going to be. And so Coach talked about how important that was and how they really became better because those guys would get those reps, not at just catching a ball, right? We always send those guys out and they catch a football. But now that virtual part of the ball is caught and you get your eyes to see where the blocks are setting up. So I think an incredible use of the technology there. So look at what happened this past weekend. Think about how you might be able to create some situations. Most of this, with what is in there with their templates, you can tweak a few things and find exactly what you need. And Rob Everett said it's about finding some low-hanging fruit, doing some simple things. Don't think about getting very complex with this, but what can you do to set up a few things to make your players better? The example I talked about with quarterback, I did nothing with a play or anything like that. I just put the different coverages out there, put them into a drill, and just based on alignment and first steps, he's able to diagnose exactly what coverage it was to help him know where he's going with the football. So you certainly can build on this as the season goes along, but even if you haven't started using this, I'd say sit down with it, or have a staff member who has a little bit more time than you, sit down with it, go through it. It literally is like using a play drawing tool that you can do this, and then it renders it into a simulation for you that can be used on a big screen or can be used in virtual reality. So check it out. It's at GoArmyEdge.com. Rob Everett and I are going to certainly be talking about more of these ideas throughout the season on our Edge series, which is on Tuesdays. And be sure you're checking out all our series designed to take you through the week and think about all the different things you do as a coach, whether that's the mental preparation, the technical, tactical part, the things you do in practice, or even the leadership. We cover all of those things throughout the week in the different series that we have. Thanks again for listening to the podcast. Again, go to GoArmyEdge.com to get access to this free software. I promise that you'll find it very useful in training your players this offseason. Be sure to check out our show notes for other related episodes where we discuss virtual reality and training players in other ways with technology. Follow all we're doing at coachingcoordinator.com and follow me on Twitter at Coach K. Grabowski.